What if the little girl everyone ignored became the only person who could save the man who once saved her? The courtroom was completely silent. A powerful businessman sat alone at the defense table, moments away from losing everything he had spent 15 years building. Across the room, expensive lawyers smiled confidently, certain they had already won. Then the courtroom doors slowly opened. A young woman stepped inside, carrying nothing but a small leather folder. She looked directly at the man with tears in her eyes and softly whispered, "Dad. I'm here." No one in that courtroom knew that 15 years earlier, she had been a homeless little girl with nowhere to sleep. No one knew that one act of kindness was about to change everyone's future. Before we begin today's emotional story, welcome to Heartline Stories. If you enjoy inspiring stories about kindness, hope, and second chances, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Heartline Stories, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. 15 years earlier, Michael Carter was a struggling single father living in Chicago. After losing his wife to cancer, he worked 2 jobs while raising his 8-year-old son, Ethan. Money was always tight. Some nights, Michael skipped dinner so Ethan could have enough to eat. Despite his struggles, Michael believed kindness was something no one could afford to lose. Every evening after work, he walked past an old subway station. One freezing winter night, he noticed a little girl sitting alone on the cold concrete floor. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her clothes were dirty, and she hugged an old backpack as if it contained her entire world. People passed without stopping. Michael couldn't. He knelt beside her. "Hey sweetheart, where are your parents?" The little girl looked down. "I don't have anyone." Her name was Lily. She had been living on the streets after losing both parents in an accident. The foster homes she entered were abusive, so she kept running away. Michael bought her a hot meal. He expected that would be the end. Instead, Lily smiled for the first time in months. That smile changed everything. Over the next several weeks, Michael visited her every evening. He brought food, warm clothes, and books because Lily loved reading more than anything. Eventually, Michael made the hardest decision of his life. Even though he barely had enough money for himself and Ethan, he began the legal process to adopt Lily. Everyone told him he was making a mistake. "You can't even afford your own life. Why would you take on another child?" Michael only smiled. Because every child deserves someone who believes in them. Nearly a year later, the adoption became official. For the first time in years, Lily had a real home. She finally had a father. Life wasn't easy. Michael continued working long hours while raising both children. Some nights they shared one pizza between the 3 of them. Christmas gifts were simple. Vacations didn't exist. But the house was filled with laughter, love, and family dinners around a tiny kitchen table. Michael constantly reminded both children of one lesson. Success means nothing if you forget kindness. Lily never forgot. She studied harder than anyone in school. Teachers quickly noticed she had an extraordinary mind. She won scholarships. Graduated at the top of her class. Eventually, she attended one of America's best law schools. The day she received her law degree, she hugged Michael and whispered, "You gave me a future." Michael smiled proudly. "No, sweetheart. You built it yourself." Meanwhile, Michael slowly started a small logistics company with only one delivery truck. Years passed. His honesty and compassion earned customers' trust. Employees loved working for him because he treated everyone with respect. The tiny company eventually became Carter Logistics, one of the fastest-growing transportation businesses in the Midwest. Life finally seemed perfect. Until everything fell apart. One of Michael's business partners secretly forged financial documents and blamed Michael for millions of dollars in fraud. News channels immediately called him corrupt. Banks froze company accounts. Investors disappeared overnight. Employees feared losing their jobs. The government filed charges. The trial began. Michael knew he was innocent. But innocence doesn't always win without proof. His lawyers searched desperately for evidence. Nothing. The partner had covered every track. As closing arguments approached, Michael quietly accepted that he might lose everything. Then, on the final day of trial, the courtroom doors opened. Lily walked inside. She was now 23 years old. Confident. Professional. One of the youngest attorneys in the state. Michael stared in disbelief. Lily. She smiled through tears. Dad. I'm here. The judge allowed her to speak after she presented newly discovered evidence. For months, Lily had quietly investigated the case herself. She had uncovered deleted emails, hidden bank transfers, and security footage proving Michael had been framed. She calmly presented every document. Every fact. Every timeline. The courtroom became silent. The prosecutor's confidence disappeared. The guilty business partner lowered his head. Hours later, the judge dismissed every charge against Michael. Instead, the corrupt partner was arrested for fraud and conspiracy. The courtroom erupted. Employees cried. Friends hugged each other. Michael remained frozen. Lily walked over. He stood. Without saying a word, he wrapped his arms around the little girl he had rescued 15 years earlier. Only now. She had rescued him. As reporters surrounded them outside the courthouse, one journalist asked Lily, "Why did you work so hard to save him?" She smiled. Because 15 years ago, when everyone else walked past a homeless little girl, one man stopped. He didn't save me because I could repay him. He saved me because that's who he was. And today, it was finally my turn. That interview spread across America. Millions watched it online. Parents shared it with their children. Teachers played it in classrooms. People everywhere were reminded that kindness is never wasted. Months later, Carter Logistics recovered stronger than ever. Michael promoted employees who had remained loyal during the difficult days. Lily became the company's legal advisor but continued providing free legal services for homeless children every weekend. Together, father and daughter created a foundation helping children without families receive education, shelter, and hope. Every year, they returned to the same subway station where they first met. They handed out warm meals, blankets, and books. Whenever someone thanked Michael, he always gave the same answer. "I didn't change her life. We changed each other's." Because the greatest acts of kindness are never investments expecting something in return. They are gifts given with love. Sometimes those gifts return years later in ways we could never imagine. So if you ever wonder whether one small act of kindness matters, remember Michael and Lily. A single meal became a family. A single decision became a future. And a single act of love eventually saved an empire. Thank you for watching Heartline Stories. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Heartline Stories, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. Until next time, remember that the smallest act of compassion today may become someone's greatest miracle tomorrow.